Hi, I'm an astronaut. I'm an American. I'm a fighter pilot. I'm a career military officer. I'm a middle-aged baby boomer white male legal resident of the state of Arizona. And I want to talk to you today about labels. The labels others place on us and those labels we place on ourselves. Now, we live in a very complicated world. Our planet contains suffering, injustice, crime, terrorism, natural disasters, war, and a long list of other woes. But the world also is characterized by love, charity, forgiveness, interconnectedness, creativity, innovation, and many, many other wonderful things. The complexity of the world, the enormity of its problems, and the sheer terror that can be inspired by world events are so great that there is a strong propensity to construct a simpler framework or worldview that attempts to incorporate all those factors into something more understandable and palatable. In this process of simplification, we tend to lump situations, people, groups, and nations into categories and place them in the cubbyholes of our constructed framework. One of the biggest drivers that leads us to construct a simplified framework is fear. But the mindset of the only thing we have to fear is fear itself is as true now as it was when Franklin Delano Roosevelt first spoke those words in his inaugural address in 1933. Anything that divides us makes us weaker, less secure, and less productive. And fear may be the most destructive and divisive force on the planet. Now, fear is a natural response to real danger, but beyond its evolutionary importance, fear can also be counterproductive to peace and security. Fear drives us to label an entire group of people rather than dealing with the myriad complex factors that can lead people and groups to do things that we don't understand. By placing people and groups into cubbyholes, we build walls and boundaries that separate us from others. We separate ourselves from the value that others can bring to a situation. We separate ourselves from the potential sources of the solutions to the problems that we all face. Amazingly, we even acknowledge and become the labels that others put on us, or worse yet, we label ourselves and put ourselves into groups. Now, there's nothing wrong with being identified with a particular group, as long as we do not let that define who we are, who we will speak with, and who we will work with. Labels confine us, they box us in, they erect barriers to collaboration and cooperation. Even right now while I'm speaking, some of you may be trying to put me in a box. Is he liberal? Is he conservative? Is he religious? What religion is he? What denomination is he? Is he like me? Are we in the same group? Can I trust his words because we're cut from the same cloth? Now, this mindset severely limits the pieces of the puzzle that we allow onto our playing board and limits the possible solutions to our shared problems. Simplified frameworks and the labels they erect can lead to failures to empathize with the history and the expectations of others. Such a framework leads to hatred, racism, discrimination, violence, and war. It can lead us to ignore anything of merit on the other side's opinion, or even attempt to discredit that merit. If I acknowledge merit in their position, they will gain, and therefore I will lose. The building of a simplified framework leads to a simplified worldview, or nation view, or community view, or society view, or even self-view. And it has led to sharp divisions in the global community and within many countries and communities. It replaces empathy and understanding with generalizations and egotism, and represents an impediment to global cooperation and individual cooperation, perhaps the main impediment. This mindset is prevalent in many political systems and is certainly prevalent in the present U.S. political discord. It leads to a two-dimensional mindset, an us versus them mentality. Fear dictates that we establish a group to flee from or lash out against. In the two-dimensional us versus them world we've constructed, we're quick to find a them to assign blame. But the world isn't flat. Trust me, I've seen it from space. We don't live in a two-dimensional world. To start solving real problems, we need to approach them in the context of the real world with all its multi-dimensional complexity. The Orbital Perspective attempts to communicate the reality of the world that we live in and declares that we do not have to accept that the suffering and the conflict on our planet is inescapable. This perspective acknowledges that if we can learn to work together, we can overcome the challenges facing our world, but putting this perspective into practice requires us to first acknowledge the framework that we have constructed through which we view the world, which informs our opinions about events, situations, and people. And we need to look for opportunities to step outside of the boxes we've been placed in by others and been placed in ourselves. We must attempt to employ elevated empathy and seek a deep understanding of a situation before making critical decisions or sending out inflammatory tweets. Acknowledging the personal framework that we've each constructed through which we view the world is a necessary first step before we can begin to solve our shared challenges. We have proven again and again that in the long run, we are most successful when we replace fear with calculated reason, patience, compassion, and a well-thought-out plan that includes consideration of the long-term implications of any decision or course of action. We are most successful when we overcome fear and have the courage to shake off the false and limited mindset of separation and step into the real world with all its interconnected complexity and uncertainty. We are most successful when we have the wisdom, patience, and humility to realize that in order to succeed and progress, we need to incorporate the efforts of everyone, not just those that we've deemed worthy to be members of our tribe. So in this next video, or this next lesson, which will be the last video of this course, we will put all of these ideas and concepts into the context of our 100-year journey through space on the Earthrise 2068 mission. So see you next lesson.